Hi, my name is Rivka Lambert-Adler. I live in Israel, in Ma'ale Adumim, just outside of Jerusalem, and I made Aliyah from Baltimore in 2010, and I'm making this video today to share with you what some of the signs are that tell us that we are in fact in the pre-Messianic era. And much of this comes from the work of Rabbi Aryeh Kaplan. Rabbi Aryeh Kaplan put together a book called the Handbook of Jewish Thought, and in that he has many chapters. It's a 2-volume work, many chapters on different ideas in Judaism and what have the Jewish sages said about these topics through the ages. And we're particularly interested in his chapter on the pre-Messianic era, which is what we're going to be talking about. But first I want to say that there are some people who ask, why do we think that now that we're getting close to the time of Geula and Moshiach, when we've been anticipating Geula and Moshiach for thousands of years? And so I want to try to answer that in 2 ways. One way is that there's a tradition that this world will last for 6,000 years. And we are a few weeks away from Rosh Hashanah of the year 5777. And that means that the 6,000 year mark is still hundreds of years away. And so some people say, why is everybody getting so excited about Geula when we have all this time left? But I'll share with you something that I learned from Rabbi Pinchas Winston, that there is a piece of the Zohar that indicates that the very last stage of the redemption of the Jewish people is Techiyat HaMeitim, is the revival of the dead. And this is not a process that happens overnight. As a matter of fact, the Zohar says that Techiyat HaMeitim takes between 210 and 214 years. There's 2 different opinions. Now, counting back from the year 6000, let's say that it takes 210 years. That brings us to the year 5790, when Techiyat HaMeitim, the process, is going to begin. 5790 is... and we are entering 5777. So now we're not talking about hundreds of years. Now we're talking about 13 years. Now, Techiyat HaMeitim is the end of the process. And the end of the process means that certain things have to happen in advance. One of the things that has to happen in advance is that we have to know who Moshiach is. We have to meet him. And he has to be announced to us and has to start doing his work in the world. And another stage is that we need the rebuilding of the third temple and the completion of the return of the exiles from Israel. All of that has to happen in the next 13 years. So we're not looking at hundreds of years. We're perhaps looking at a decade or more. And that is assuming you take 210 years. If it's 214 years, we have even less time. And that means that we, probably most of us listening to this video, are living in the generation of Geula, in the generation of Moshiach. Now, getting back to Rabbi Aryeh Kaplan, he made a number of points, one of which, of course, is that the coming of the Moshiach is a fundamental belief in Judaism. And in fact, so fundamental that Rambam put it as one of his 13 principles of faith. It happens to be number 12. I just want to share with you a couple of things that Rabbi Kaplan says will be signs of the pre-Messianic era, signs that we're getting close. And I think that you'll recognize all of these as things that we're living with right now. One of them is that there will be extremely advanced technology in the Messianic era. Now, if you think about where technology was for up until the last 25 years or so, the amount of technology and the advance of technology in the last 25 years, even in the last 10 years, has been extraordinary. And if you have a smartphone and you know how often your operating system gets updated, you know how often your apps get updated, you know how often technology brings the world to you, you know that this sign is coming true, that we are living in a time of extremely advanced technology. There's also a chazal that say that the Messianic era will begin in a generation that has the power to destroy itself. Does that sound familiar to you? Also, that in the time just before Mashiach comes, that chutzpah will increase. Now, when my children were growing up and they spoke to me in a chutzpahdik way, I used to say to them, when you talk to me like that, that actually encourages me because it gives me an idea that Mashiach must be on his way, because we know that chutzpah will increase in the time of Mashiach. Now, many sages speak about the Jewish people returning to the land of Israel as a prelude to Mashiach, and that the ingathering will begin first with a measure of political independence, not entire political independence, and according to some, with permission of the other nations. Does that sound familiar to you? The two most important signs that we are in the pre-Messianic era are the ingathering of the exiles and the rebuilding of Jerusalem. Now, I can tell you, living just outside of Jerusalem, some people make a joke that the crane, the construction vehicle that we call a crane, is the national bird of Israel, because all over Israel, but particularly in Jerusalem, there is construction all the time. It's true we don't have the third Beit HaMikdash yet, but Jerusalem is clearly being rebuilt, and we are very, very far from what Israel looked like, or Palestine looked like, in 1867 when Mark Twain was here. So these are just some thoughts that to give you an idea of how we are getting very, very close. Some people say we are exceedingly close, but in any case, you watching this and me, God willing, are living in the generation that expects to see Moshiach, and we are looking forward to that. And part of the experience of being in that generation is being prepared. And part of being prepared is knowing that we are gifted to be alive in the generation that's going to greet Mashiach. So I want to wish you all a kativ v'chazima tova, and thanks for watching.